YouTube, what up, bro? It's been a while, been a minute, been a hot minute. I can't lie to you. It's been probably a couple weeks, maybe even 2-3 weeks since I've uploaded, so I apologize. Yeah, been working, been grinding, been tatting, been super busy, but good busy. We're also opening and expanding the current studio that I'm in right now for a couple different reasons. I've been wanting to do this for a while now, start building out the like an actual team, have other artists on board, expand the brand, get a bigger place, all that kind of stuff. It is pretty crazy that, I mean, if you've been following my channel for a minute now, you saw we just moved into that private studio maybe 5-6 months ago, and we're already ready to expand. So that's I mean, it's a good thing. So it's a good problem to have. But yeah, so I apologize for the little bit of absence, but this was the other thing I was working on, this advanced class. This has been something I've been working on for a long time now, put a lot of energy and effort into this. If you got the beginner course, shout out to you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that as well. And I love seeing your guys' progress with stuff, whether you tag me and stuff, whether you sent me stuff, all super cool stuff. So shout out to you guys. I just wanted to give kind of like the rundown. If you remember, before I made one about the beginner course, I kind of opened it up so you guys could see a little bit inside, see what you're getting yourself into, if you like the look of it, all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to get into. So if you got the beginner course and now you're getting the advanced course, this is what your like my courses section will look like. So right here where you see my courses, this is what your section will look like. So this is the beginner course, the top 3 tiles, and then the bottom 3 is the advanced. So if you didn't get the beginner and you're just getting the advanced, then you won't see these top 3, you'll just see these bottom 3, and then vice versa. If you got only the beginner and not the advanced, then you won't see these, but you'll see these. So, and then if you got both, obviously you'll see 6 different little tiles here. But today we're talking about the advanced one. So just like the beginner one, I called that one the fundamentals. This one's called the exclusive. And so when you get in here, this is where all the beefy course material is. So there is 8 modules, and there's, I think, I don't know, 30 something. I don't know how many it ended up being actually. I think it ended up being, I don't know, 20-30 submodules maybe. So I ended up just counting them, and I think it's 31 submodules inside the modules. So a lot of stuff, a lot of course material, a lot of videos, everything pretty much for the most part, I believe, is 4K. Shot on a really nice camera, so you'll be able to get good angles. If you, just like before, if you're watching on an iPad or a screen or something that can show 4K or 2K, you'll be able to enhance the quality. So if you're on the iPad, it might show 1080p, and then you can kind of just change it to 4K or 2K or whatever that device can handle. So you'll get a little bit more quality that way as well. Let's see, as an overview, Module 1, I did like a whole breakdown on contrast. So I tried my best to kind of make this in a chronological order of how my thought process is for tattooing. So the first step would be contrast. For me, contrast is king. I rely heavily on contrast, whether I'm doing light skin or dark skin or medium tone, it doesn't really matter to me. Even if I'm just drawing, I do high contrast, higher contrast than the image even shows. So I show my thought process on that correlates with my drop system, because I use a very simplified drop system. So this is kind of just me breaking down all of that. So that's what kind of like these videos are. And then here, this is about like the curves, gradient maps, tools that I use. Let's see, a whole bunch of stuff, background, separation gaps, everything that I go into of like why I do what I do. And I show examples. I talk all through that stuff. The whole thing on background, why I think it's super important. That was one of the things that changed my game. Then the next module is flow. So another thing that is very important to me is flow. So natural flow, examples, the differences between that kind of flow and rotational flow, making sure you're putting on things in the correct way, which way they face, how you should set them up, what you should be looking for when you design, pull images, pretty much just educating you and reinforcing your education on this point so that you can be more confident when you're talking to clients and being like, if they say, no, I'd rather have it small, and you're like, no, trust me, you want to do it bigger because this is why, right? And then you'll be able to explain things to them, educate them, and it's not even like selling them on it. It's just explaining. And once they understand the difference and they see visual examples of things, they'll be much more on your side of like, oh, okay, he is the expert. He is the person that knows better with this. I can trust him now. You know what I mean? So instead of, I've seen some people kind of like try and explain this and break this down, and they're kind of like, nah, bro, just trust, bro. It'll be better. And it's like, if you have a client who's a little indecisive already, that's not really going to go over well. That's not going to make them feel comfortable. And to me, these are things that are very important. And I feel like why I've been very successful in the clients that I have, you know, building the brand that I have is, and how I tattoo, you know, I get people who just come in and they just trust me. They just say, this is kind of my idea. Do what you want with it. And that's pretty much 99.9% of my clientele. I would even say probably 100, you know, they really don't give me a hard time. They just understand, but that's from building trust and them seeing videos I've done, them seeing explanations and breakdowns that I've done on video with other people or with them. When they come in, I explain things, I break things down, I show flow, I show this, I show that, I show the importance of all these things. And that's what I broke down in here, between my thought process and real life examples of me breaking them down, you know, why this makes sense and this doesn't make sense, right? So a whole bunch of stuff on that. Flow is super important when you're doing sleeves. That's going to keep just continuing to take your craft to the next level. So module 3, we talk about creating a sleeve. The process, again, I go through like breaking down what exactly I do and like the system I do it with. This is important to have because if you have a system, bro, things just start making more sense and it's easier to put together, both for you and for clients that you have. If you do this way with this person, but then you do it completely opposite with this person, and then you go to try and explain it and you're like, well, I don't even know why I do this, right? It's a little bit harder. You're going to end up confusing yourself, confusing them. Yeah, stuff like that. So I do examples as well in here. So this is a full 45-minute start to finish breakdown of designing. So I pretty much did like a mock-up, assuming that they were getting an outer sleeve, and let's say they wanted this idea with these type of concepts, and we built that from scratch, right? So I show how I design it, why I design it the way I do inside of Procreate, what tools I use, brushes or any of that kind of stuff I show in here, and then we build an entire sleeve. Again, real time, no time lapse, none of that stuff. This is me being like, okay, this is my image over here. I want this as my main element and I want this as my secondary element, and this is why. You know, I want to put this here and I like the look of this, but I don't like this facing this way. I like it facing this way, and I like this on top of this because of this. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So I think that's super beneficial, so that you can actually see me put together sleeves with explanations. And then here we get more into module 4 is the extra large stencils that I do. So for this example, I did an outer sleeve and I printed it out. So I show how to print it out, how to tape it together, how to size it up. I show how to apply it, all that kind of stuff. So this one is super beneficial as well if you do struggle with that. I also gave a few tips in here about like, it can be hard if you are kind of solo and you don't have anyone to help put these big stencils on. How I put them on And then if you're still having like troubles with it, there's also other ways that I show, like you kind of cut it here and then put this one on, and this is how you size this one up, so on and so forth, you know. These are a lot more of just like how I combine hand stencils with apps so I can customize it a little bit better. And then this is the Big Mag shading techniques module. So in here I show lining with the mags, soft shading, blending and transition tones, what my thought process is on them, because I use this a lot with blending and transitions to soften the current tone and build into the second tone, layering. I rely on this stuff heavily, and that's how I get my stuff soft shading, good transitions, not choppy shading or choppy transitions, because that stuff is glaring in black and gray realism. The next one is where we get into more of the real-time tattooing. So in here, you can see this is almost 3.5 hours. All of this stuff is real time. I did my best to not incorporate any sort of sped up things or time lapses or any of that stuff, because for me personally, that used to drive me absolutely insane when I was learning how to tattoo. When I was trying to teach myself and I would see people post videos and they were just 100 times speed time lapses, and a 10-hour tattoo that's done, you know, 30 minutes of video time. I'm like, what am I getting from this? All you see is this. And I'm like, okay, sick. What am I getting from this? You know what I mean? So that's what I did. Even though I think it's mad boring and mad long, I wouldn't say boring, but to me, like when I was editing it, I was like, dude, like a lot of this is just me shading over the same area, me doing the same thing repetitively for hours on end. But I kept it in there so that you guys can see, you know, the ones that really, really want to learn are going to watch this stuff from beginning to end and probably multiple times and get practicing, do it the exact same way I'm doing it. If you really want to learn, this is the best way to learn, in my opinion. Visually learning, because I'm a very visual learner as well. I'm also talking through it, dipping into certain tones. You can kind of see up here, I left the ink caps in, so you can see when I'm dipping, what I'm dipping into, all that stuff. And then in here, module 7 is all real-time tattooing. So I did a module on dark skin, which is again 3 hours and almost 15 minutes. And again, this is real-time tattooing. You know what I'm saying? Real breakdowns, real explanations. You see the reference on screen. You can see where I'm working. It's zoomed in so you can see exactly like brush strokes, mag marks, how I'm cornering the mag, angling the mag, manipulating the mag, if I'm lining, why I'm lining, how I'm sculpting lines, what I'm doing, and everything like that. And this ties back into all the other modules that we did, is contrast, simplifying images to be good tattoo, you know, good tattoos and references that are tattooable. Just because you have a really good clear reference doesn't mean it's gonna make a good tattoo. And I show a lot of that stuff. I show 2 different references, 2 different stencils that I use to try and see different tones, apply different tones, why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then I have a module on light skin, like super, super light skin. So I have 2 stark contrast, different type of people and skin tones that I'm tattooing, and yet I'm using this like similar application process. And for me, this is where my system comes in. I simplify my stuff so that I don't have to overthink it. If I'm doing darker skin or if I'm doing lighter skin, I don't switch up like crazy, you know, and that just makes it easier for you to tattoo different skin tones, different types of people, different areas, different body parts, different images on different body parts and different skin tones. You know, it kind of simplifies that process, because I remember feeling pretty overwhelmed with this at first when I was like teaching myself how to tattoo. And it's like, okay, I would do maybe dark skin pretty good, but then I would do white skin, it would look like super undone, or vice versa. I would do lighter skin really good, and then when I did darker skin, it didn't come out near as good. And so just figuring that whole thing out is a big thing. And then in this one, you can see it's almost 4.5 hours. And in this one, I broke this down into a 2-day session so that you guys can see how I attack and approach multiple day sessions rather than you put the stencil on, you finish it in a day. This is more getting you used to doing bigger projects, but maybe you're not ready to do a 9-10 hour session yet. And this is better for that. Or you have a client that may not be able to take 9-10 hours of tattooing or 8 hours of tattooing or whatever it is, right? This will help you out a lot because I get to a certain point, I finish what I need to, I am able to put the stencil back on easily, first try, all that kind of stuff. So I feel like that's super beneficial as well. You can also kind of see how the skin looks the second day. And then it's not in here right now, but I'm gonna post all these things as like healed as well, whether I send them in an email or I don't know how I'm gonna do it yet, but they'll probably just be on my Instagram, so you can kind of reference that when they're like fully healed versus fresh, and you can kind of see all these differences. So because like for instance, lighter skin, especially his skin, and the reason why I picked him is because he has very sensitive skin, and it's like glaring, the redness, the spottiness. His leg ended up like holding up pretty good. I was actually surprised with it, but you can see like in the hands in certain areas, like it's super splotchy red the first day, and then I think I saw him maybe even like 5 days later and it was like no redness. And that's the tricky part with doing lighter skin, is that you see all that, and to somebody who's maybe not used to that, it can be a little alarming. You can feel like you're overworking skin, all that stuff. And then same thing on darker skin. So when I did this one, there was areas that maybe weren't as smooth as what I would want, and this is where I messed up. I used to mess up in the beginning, was I would overwork darker skin or I would underwork darker skin, right? And then I found like a happy balance where I'm like, okay, I can trust that this is going to smoothen out even by tomorrow. And if you're used to doing darker skin, you know what I mean. When you see it, whether you have like a 2 or 3 day session with them, or you just see them the next day or two, you see everything's calmed down, things look so smooth. But if you reference the fresh picture, sometimes that stuff can look very choppy, or scratchy or inflamed or red or swollen, but then everything calms down. So you have to attack it with different mentalities, but yet kind of the same mentality in a way. You just have to understand these things, and that's what I try to show in here. Let's see. And then this whole module is just a breakdown on a whole bunch of different tips and how I do things. So for Procreate and what in Procreate that I feel like is useful for a tattoo artist. I didn't go deep dive. I mean, I could do literally probably a 10-hour course on Procreate alone because it's so powerful and it's so customizable. But I tried to simplify things into quick tips and tricks that I think is useful for a tattoo artist specifically, and the things that I use the most on a daily basis that I feel like also maybe tattoo artists don't talk about too much, even inside like the preferences tab, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So whole bunch of stuff in here. I'm telling you, don't sleep on this stuff. If you struggle with any of this, I think like understanding tones, simplifying images as tattoos, like references to tattoos, how I use bigger mags. Another thing, like in this one, I show even like how I pulled out a 49 mag, you know what I mean? And that was to kind of show you guys almost like a magnifying glass of how to use these big mags. And even though you may not use a 49 or 39 mag, right, you can start applying that thought process that I use with those to a 27 mag or a 23 mag. when you are doing these larger pieces. So again, most people are not going to touch a 49 or even a 39 mag. Like there's really no reason unless you're doing this big work, right? But what I use 80% of the time is a 27 mag. There is times that I'll bust out that 49 mag or a 39 mag, right? If I'm doing a big area and I want to saturate the whole thing, or I want to black a big part out with background or whatever it is, right? But for the majority of time, I try and stick to that 27 mag because I think that's like a perfect size needle. So anything between like a 23 and 27, I think is perfect to be able to manipulate, line with, cut corners, edge out, sculpt, saturate black, but also saturate light tones, you know what I mean? But not overworking it. You get way more passes with it, stuff like that. So that's what I show in here. I go back and forth between like this huge mag just to show you how I'm using it. And then I'll switch to like a 27 mag and why I use that. And then just back and forth. A lot of this is just how to get smooth shading. I picked this specific reference and doing practice skin with this to show you layering. So another thing that I wanted to kind of clarify with this section is when you're doing fake skin, you need, if you got the beginner course, I harped on this heavily in there, but what's most important when you are doing fake skin is developing the technique, using it to develop the technique. You have to use common sense and understand that, like when I'm doing this, the amount of passes, the depth I'm going, the speed I'm using, all that stuff is not exactly what I do on real skin, because real skin absorbs it way faster, right? But on fake skin, and you can see, like I haven't tattooed fake skin in probably 3 years, right? Or 2 years at least. And like an actual image. And I saw, even when I was doing it, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how hard this is to work with, how stupid fake skin can be. But I try to keep in mind and keep you guys like thinking while I'm doing it, like, okay, this is just for the technique. This is just so you can see mag marks, how to crosshatch, how to saturate these lighter tones, where to push off, how to manipulate the mag, and then you can use that on real skin and it's going to go in way better, way faster. There's whoa, almost just choked on my own words. The other reason why I picked this reference is because this is all smooth shading. I also made it like 4 times as big and put it on practice skin that's like this big, you know what I'm saying? So that it's all smooth shading. I didn't want to pick something that has a whole bunch of details and a whole bunch of different things, because the main thing that I do in my work is big areas of smooth shading. And I know that that is difficult for a lot of people to do. It was difficult for a long time for me to get smooth light tones, smooth mid tones, smooth transition tones, how to transition from black to a light tone or light tone to a dark tone. You know what I mean? So that's what this is for. Again, use common sense when I'm doing this practice skin. If you see me do 15 passes over an area, it's because it's practice skin. On real skin, it probably would have went in the 3rd or 4th pass, you know? So that's pretty much the entire course. And for the advanced one, the beginner, again, shout out to everyone who got the beginner one. Got a bunch of really good feedback on that one, so I was super happy with that. And this is the advanced course. So if you struggle with smooth shading, blending, using bigger mags, understanding contrast, understanding tone values, how to simplify them for tattooing, I have modules on all that kind of stuff, and I go into great detail with them. Again, my mindset is, even though this one is probably, I mean, I think the just tattooing alone is 3.5, I think it's like over 10 hours of just tattooing. That's not even including all the other modules, right? This is way longer than the beginner one. I still tried to do my best to simplify. So when I talk about contrast, when I talk about tone values, when I talk about apps that I use, why I use them, it's very straight to the point. Yeah. So I'm not trying to gatekeep anything. It's not like oh, these are only 20-minute videos. Why didn't he make them 3-hour videos? Because it would just be repetitive. I tried to cut all that kind of stuff out, similar to the beginner one. Just show you what you need to know, talk about what needs to be talked about, and then move on. And if you need to rewatch it a bunch of times, rewatch it. But my suggestion is watch it in order. Watch it from module 1 to module 8, because you're going to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. For instance, in real tattooing, like those sections, I might be doing something that you haven't seen, or you might be like confused, like why is he starting with a mid-tone right here when right? But if you refer back to the contrast, how I break down that and how I break down references, or you might see references in this that you're like, why is he using this reference? This reference is weird. But if you see back to the contrast module and all that kind of stuff, 1, 2, and 3, you'll see, oh, this is why he's using this, right? So again, I try to do it in chronological order of my thought process that I felt like was best to be explained to you guys, and hopefully you understand it the most that way, instead of just me jumping around to random things or just showing how I tattoo, you know? So a little bit of everything, a lot of bit of everything, if I'm being real with you. What else did I want to talk about with this? I think that's mainly it. Again, I just want to open this up. I have nothing to hide with this stuff. I see a lot of people do courses and they like, well, you won't get to know what's inside until you buy it. Like, that's not my intention with this shit, bro. It's literally just for you guys to get some more education. I did my best to get the proper angles, audio, whatever I did, I try to do with intention in here. And yeah. So, shout out Kool-Aid, bro. But yeah, I think it's really good. I'm really happy with how it turned out. For all the people who have already gotten it, I've gotten, again, good feedback on with that. And then the other thing I did want to show you guys though is this, bro. I wanted to actually show you this. So when you're on my website, right? When you go, I added another tab. So in this tattoo course tab, you have the beginner one where you can find the beginner, the advanced one where you can find this advanced. But then I added a second or a third tab, which is where you can upload your work for reviews. So if you've been following me for a little bit, you've seen that I started doing reviews like on Twitch and posting them to YouTube, a whole bunch of stuff like that, right? Giving like live feedback, constructive criticism. Everything is positive in what I do. I don't do anything negative. I don't try and break you down. Anything I comment on is just to kind of uplift you, whether just giving you encouragement to keep going, or if there is things that I feel like you could improve, then I try and call those out, but give you feedback on what you can do. You know what I mean? But there's this tab right here. It's kind of like a form. You would fill this all out, and then upload like images and stuff like that of your work. So, and then if you bought the advanced course, your reviews will go straight to the priority list. So yours will definitely get done, and they'll be done in a quicker manner. So when I go to do reviews, I'm going to go first here. And if there's, however many there's in here, I'm doing those first. So that's another like cool little perk I have going right now. How long this will last, I'm not sure, but that's here as well. So another cool little thing just to try and help give back a little bit more to those of you who did purchase the advanced course, and just kind of like, yeah, helping out a little bit more. So I think that's pretty much everything, bro. I think that's pretty much everything. Like I said, the link will be in the description, or you can click on the little shop icon. I don't know where it is throughout this video, and it will take you right to my website, and then you can get it from there. I'll have instructions inside the welcome email. So once you get it, just follow those. Yeah, that's pretty much it. shout out to all you guys who got the beginner one. Shout out to everyone who's gotten the advanced one already. Again, I've been super behind on stuff. I tried to make a video before it dropped, but I've just been pretty busy, bro. So look out for some new videos coming out. I'm gonna take you guys along the process of me opening this this new studio, along with working with Matt Rabbit. I got some cool stuff lined up for that. Hiring artists, getting artists in, that whole process, getting to know them as well. So I'm excited, bro. I'm really excited. So as usual, email me if you have any questions. Drop any questions you have down in the comments. I'm gonna be answering everything. Be easy, keep grinding, stay grinding, keep doing your thing. I'll meet you guys at the top, bruh.